Liverpool aren't playing football at the moment, they're playing basketball. And it's just end to end, and I don't think top teams play like that. And as I said, I expressed that to the manager early on. He'll know that a lot better than me. He's obviously a fantastic manager.
When OPTA released their model predicting Liverpool as the #1 favorite to win the Champions League this season, the football world took notice. This wasn't a fan poll or a pundit's gut feeling. It was cold, data-driven probability that ranked Liverpool ahead of Real Madrid, ahead of Manchester City, ahead of PSG. On the surface, that sounds like a bold call. But then you look at recent results, defeats to Crystal Palace in the Premier League and to Galatasaray in the Champions League group stage, and suddenly the question becomes more complicated. Can Liverpool really go all the way in Europe if they're already stumbling? Or is OPTA seeing something deeper that casual eyes miss? That's the journey we're taking in this video, so make sure to stick around until the end. And if you love tactical football breakdowns, don't forget to subscribe to Football Central. Liverpool have built their reputation in recent years on being inevitable under Klopp and under Slot. No matter how messy the match looked, there was always this sense that the Reds would find a winner, summon a late goal, or overwhelm the opponent into submission. But against Crystal Palace and Galatasaray, that aura slipped. At Selhurst Park Palace, 20 games unbeaten at home shut Liverpool down. The Reds never truly looked like breaking them, and the match ended in a rare defeat that left supporters frustrated. Days later in Istanbul, the story repeated. Galatasaray got their lead through a debatable penalty, but the worrying part wasn't the officiating. It was Liverpool's inability to respond. For all their attacking talent, Florian Wirtz, Alexander Isak, Mohamed Salah, they couldn't find a way through a compact defense. The ball moved Wirtz, and £130 million on Isak. You expect them to tip tight games instead. Isak was starved of service, touching the ball just 4 times in 30 minutes, while Wirtz looked caught between roles, drifting but never dictating. That disconnect between high-profile signings and actual output has raised real questions. So how did this happen? To answer that, we need to look more closely at Florian Wirtz, the player meant to transform Liverpool's attack. When Florian Wirtz arrived at Anfield in the summer, he came with immense hype. At Bayer Leverkusen under Xabi Alonso, he wasn't just a talent, he was the heartbeat of their attack. 18 goals and 20 assists in 2023-24, followed by another 16 goals and 15 assists. The next season, he was named Bundesliga Player of the Year in 2024. A playmaker who dictated tempo, created space, and delivered end product. Liverpool broke their transfer record to sign him. The expectation was simple. He would be the creative force that Liverpool had lacked since Philippe Coutinho, the player to unlock low blocks, and provide the magic in tight Champions League ties. But the reality so far has been different. In England, Wirtz has looked more like a passenger than a conductor. His movement is intelligent. He drags markers, finds half spaces, and runs tirelessly. Yet too often the moves break down before reaching him, or he receives the ball too deep to truly influence the game. One major issue has been his role under Arne Slot. At Leverkusen, Wirtz thrived as the left-sided no 10 in a 3-4-2-1 cutting, inside onto his right and combining high up the pitch. At Liverpool, Slot has experimented. Sometimes Wirtz is central in a 4-2-3-1. Sometimes he drifts wide. Sometimes he even drops deep to collect from defenders. That constant shifting has blunted his effectiveness. Instead of being stationed in dangerous areas, he often ends up running to fill gaps. Then there's the Premier League itself. The pace, the physicality, the intensity. It's a different beast. Against Arsenal and Newcastle, he found little time on the ball. Against Palace, he drifted, his influence fading as Liverpool grew frustrated. His numbers aren't disastrous, but for a £100 million player, fans expect instant goals and assists, not nice movement and running stats. The irony is that his effort is unquestionable. He covers ground, relentlessly presses with intensity, and makes clever runs. But hard running is the baseline at Liverpool. What they need from him is creativity and composure in the final third, and that has been missing. If Wirtz has been adapting, Alexander Isak has been waiting. Liverpool's £130 million striker was bought to solve last season's problem. Conversion Darwin Núñez worked hard, but missed too many chances. Isak was supposed to be the answer. Elegant, composed, clinical, and yet against Palace and Galatasaray, he barely touched the ball. The issue isn't Isak, it's Liverpool's inability to play to his strengths. Isak thrives when receiving the ball 2 feet running onto passes through the lines, combining in tight spaces. Instead, he's been left isolated, sometimes expected to win headers he doesn't specialize in. In Istanbul, he had 4 touches in half an hour. That's not a striker failing, it's a system failing the striker. And this links back to Wirtz. At Leverkusen, Wirtz made a living threading passes to advancing forwards. At Liverpool, he's either too deep, too wide, or too drained from pressing to provide the service. Until those two connect, Liverpool's attack risks looking like a collection of expensive individuals rather than a cohesive unit. Now here's where perspective matters. 2 defeats, however concerning, don't define a season. Every elite side hits turbulence. Arsenal, City, Madrid, PSG all drop points. The key is how they respond. And this is where OPTA's prediction comes into play. While fans focus on recent performances, data models zoom out. OPTA's numbers don't just look at one bad week. They analyze underlying trends, expected goals, pressing efficiency, defensive solidity, squad depth. And across those indicators, Liverpool remain one of the most complete teams in Europe. Last season, their Champions League exit to PSG was narrow across 2 legs. Liverpool created more chances, dominated possession, but lacked a finisher. They lost on penalties after Darwin Núñez and Curtis Jones missed painful yes. But the underlying play suggested a team close to breaking through this season. They addressed that gap. Isak's finishing, historically among the best in the Premier League, changes the equation. Wirtz's creativity, even if not fully clicked, yet provides a new weapon. Add a deeper midfield, a refreshed Van Dijk-led defense, and Alisson still overperforming his expected saves, and you get a team built for knockout football. So what needs to change? Liverpool must settle Wirtz into his best role on the left, half space, where he can cut inside, combine, and dictate play closer to goal. The constant experiments have only slowed his adaptation, and stability will help him rediscover Leverkusen-level influence. They must also play to Isak's strengths by giving him service to feet-threading passes through the lines, rather than relying on hopeful crosses. With Wirtz and Szoboszlai feeding him, Isak can become the decisive striker. Liverpool lacked last season. Equally important is rebalancing the midfield, which has looked stretched and static at times. A progressive midfielder like Gravenberch or Bajcetic can carry the ball forward and prevent Liverpool from becoming predictable. Compactness in midfield will also protect the defense, which has looked exposed when both fullbacks push too high. Slot doesn't need to overhaul everything. He simply needs to fine-tune the system to suit his players. And the numbers suggest that when he does, Liverpool will become a frightening prospect. OPTA's model is not emotional. It does not overreact to memes or headlines. It calculates probabilities, and those probabilities currently favor Liverpool. Their expected goals, created last season, were already among the best in Europe, and now with Isak, they have a forward whose conversion rate is elite. Wirtz adds the progressive passing Liverpool were missing. Slot's pressing structure has been refined, so they win the ball high without leaving themselves as exposed in transition. Van Dijk remains a defensive leader, supported by quicker partners, and Alisson continues to save Liverpool in the moments that matter most. These elements combine into the 5 pillars of Champions League winning sides: a scorer who can decide ties, a creator who can unlock compact defenses, a defensive leader who organizes the backline, a goalkeeper who wins matches on his own, and a manager with tactical clarity. Liverpool now tick every single box, which is why OPTA's prediction, however bold it sounds, is rooted in real evidence. Yes, the competition is fierce. Manchester City dominate England, but remain fragile in Europe. Real Madrid carry aura but are transitioning. PSG are strong, but still mentally brittle. Bayern and Barcelona have flaws in consistency. Liverpool, by contrast, combine hunger and experience. Salah is chasing another European medal. Van Dijk knows time is running out. Alisson is in his prime, while Wirtz and Isak are desperate to prove themselves. This blend of urgency and potential is powerful. Then there's Anfield. European nights at Anfield cannot be measured by data. They break opponents. They inspire players. PSG survived last year on penalties, but only after being suffocated for 90 minutes. Barcelona, Dortmund, countless others have crumbled under that red storm. If Liverpool reach the knockouts, Anfield will be worth a goal on its own. So can Liverpool really win the Champions League? The defeats to Palace and Galatasaray highlight their flaws. Ball progression, cohesion, tactical balance. Florian Wirtz's slow start has exposed just how crucial his adaptation will be, but the fixes are clear and the squad is stronger than ever. OPTA's model doesn't see doom. It sees a team with elite data, elite talent, and elite mentality. A team that has suffered heartbreak rebuilt smartly and now stands ready. If Wirtz finds rhythm, if Isak gets service, if Slot aligns the system, then Liverpool aren't just contenders. They're favorites, and maybe, just maybe, Opta's prediction will prove true. This season, the margins will be fine, the story's dramatic, and the glory historic. The question is whether Liverpool can seize their moment. We'll find out in May. Until then, thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to Football Central for more deep dives into the game we love.